All right, what's up? So I remember. Okay, so I just wanted to just do a recap. So posted on Instagram. What did you guys want to see throughout the channel again? And you guys can. I posted. Let me just see here what I posted. So I created a poll, and the poll was, what else would you guys like, or what else would you want to see on the channel? And okay, so I asked for four things. Would you guys want Q&As, gym content, vlogs, or reactions? And it came down to it. I posted on my Instagram. I'm just looking on what I posted on on YouTube, but on the channel, but Instagram, it was a three-way tie between gym content, vlogs, and reactions. So I'm gonna do reactions. So I'm gonna react to a video today. So it's gonna be interesting. So it was a three-way tie on Instagram. So, and I'm gonna be honest, just a disclaimer, I love doing vlogs. I love doing them. I have no problem with being behind the camera. I'm comfortable with being behind the camera because I have nothing else to hide. And even if it was off camera, I'm comfortable because I know I have nothing to hide. I am an open book. Like, I don't have a squeaky clean past, but I'm moved on. And if you are able to be an adult, you're able to move on from it. So, but the thing was that, I love doing vlogs, but nowadays people are uncomfortable with being around on camera, and it's like, I also don't want to be calling every building that I walk into with a camera to seeing before, if I get, like, calling every single place before I get there to see if I'm able to film is just a waste of time, especially if it's going to be a yes or a no. 50-50 chance is going to be yes or no, so not even worth wasting time. But one thing that I did want to try was reactions, and reactions was kind of cool because it could get you to really, it's different, right? It's different, right? So, I mean, I feel like it's just more intimate too, because it's like you actually know what that person's thinking at that second, at that point. Because it's like, there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, this person said this on this podcast. It's like, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, why should I believe you? Why? I need to believe the person that actually said it. You know what I mean? But, like, not really to the point where, like, I need to see it to believe it, but, like, it's just trustworthiness. Like, your word goes a long way, and if it's not even your words that directly came from your mouth at that moment, then it's like, essentially, it's still not trustworthy. Essentially, it's still not. But it also does come with faith in some case scenarios. So, but yeah, so I'm basically going to just react to a podcast. So, Valuetainment. Everybody knows Valuetainment. Everybody knows PBD, Patrick Bet-David. If you haven't seen him, he's on Instagram. He's an entrepreneur. He posts business content and political content, all that stuff like that. But he just, at the end of the day, wants to have the conversations with people. He's not afraid to have these conversations with people, whether if it's for the right, for the left, whether he agrees with them or doesn't agree with them. It doesn't matter. He just wants to have those conversations, and to me, that's a great perspective to have, because that is what the young generation needs to start doing. Is that they need to start having more conversations, because the less conversations that we have, the more chaos that brings to the table. And what we want to bring to the table is solutions, ambitious solutions, because we always want to try to make things better each and every day, because we also have to know that the world is exponentially growing and changing at an exponential pace. So we got to be able to catch up and maintain and be able to have the endurance to keep up with it. So, but it's something. So if you don't know, Valuetainment is the company that Patrick Bet-David started. Great guy, great company. What's interesting is that he started Valuetainment. Let me just see here. He started Valuetainment. Let's see here. So, VT.com, Valuetainment, man. I mean, they really cool stuff. Started in 2013, and and it all comes with just starting a few videos and content. So that's what I'm trying to do here, guys. It's great that it says that. Oh gosh, it says here that after the first year, Patrick decided to make the focus off of himself and focus it on building something bigger that could provide value and entertainment and create a movement that could create a movement around the world. Hence, the name Valuetainment was born. The tough part would be to figure out what that content would be consist of. Right, so and now it's branched off to a whole bunch of things. He's got it branched off to his main show, which is the PBD podcast, and then of course he has his co-host Vincent Oshana and Adam Sosnick. They have their own podcast on the VT Valuetainment channels. It's Valuetainment Comedy with Vincent Oshana, and then Valuetainment not finance but Love and Finance or something like that with Adam, with the SOSCAST on it with Adam Sosnick, and then we also have Thomas Ellsworth with the BizDoc podcast as well. It's great guys, all great, all really, really smart. I will absolutely put down Valuetainment and Patrick Bet-David and all his guys down in the comments below. Also, they are huge influences in my life right now, with just business, entrepreneurship, and just being an adult. You know, it's kind of hard to try to find good mentors that are like that too. So you got to take it as it comes too. Those are like but it's like mentors as in like showing us like, oh, how to figure out things in life where, you know, you won't get in most places, you know, like school and work and stuff like that. And that's another rabbit hole for another day, though. But yeah, so going back to the point, so I'm gonna watch a podcast. It's off of the SOSCAST with Adam Sosnick. Interesting podcast. It's very, very interesting. So it's right here. Let me just do something here real quick. But let me see here. Well, as I'm pulling this up, Valuetainment. Well, let's just see here. Valuetainment. Yeah, it's great stuff, by the way. So it's like, if you haven't seen the latest video, by the way, go check it out on Valuetainment. The farmers protesting worldwide. Will government policies disrupt food policy? It's going to be interesting. So, but as always, we have to also okay, so sorry for the late for the pause there. So it's here that Valuetainment so yeah, it's a SOSCAST with Adam Sosnick. He is pretty cool. So he actually had an interview. He did a podcast with Gen Z. Let me just see here. Yeah, so Gen Z. So he talked about in this video Gen Z, O.J. Simpson dead, Diddy names, and Gen Z. Gen Z saves America with a question mark. And so he has on there Isabel Brown and a bunch of other Gen Z girls or women, and it's interesting that what they talk about, especially with OJ, Diddy, and what they think about Gen Z and what our own people think about us Gen Zers. To me, I believe that where they're coming from, I'm not sure. I watched it once, I'm being honest with you, but I need to go back and read it again to really realize what they were talking about. And I feel like if I was on stream doing this, that you would actually get my thoughts right then and there. So that's why I kind of did this too. I'm streaming, but I'm also recording at the exact same time. So it'll be something here real quick. So let me just transition here. I will transition. Okay, so what this will be is, so this it's going to be right here. So it's going to be interesting with what this has to say, because it has a lot to do with what. It's not inappropriate, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just a lot of the content was, like, a lot of the content didn't, like, it's most of the time, I mean, let's just face it right here, guys. It's stuff that the media doesn't want us to talk about. So let's just be straight up and honest here. Okay, so, but, yeah, this is the SOSCAST. This is going to be, this is just me genuinely reacting. I don't want anything involved with getting paid or anything. I don't care. This is literally for free. This is literally my own free time while I have it. After this, I'm going to a Bible study. So, and honestly, this is just for people that want to get involved with what's going on and what really Gen Z actually thinks. What our own people in our own generation have to say about what we think and how we are. It's just interesting because it's from a woman's perspective. I'll say this. So I'll say this. It's from a woman's perspective, which I won't ever understand from a woman's perspective. But I'm gonna be following what Adam's trying to ask, because what he's gonna ask is a lot of things that a lot of us should be paying attention and really should be thinking about. And he's going to also give a lot of points, and also he's going to talk about a lot of stuff that I think, again, all of us should really think about. So YouTube, don't get me copyrighted, because there's a lot of people and a lot of videos on this app and on this site that you allow, and that get over millions and millions of views. I don't want to hear nothing. I promise. I don't want to be this person. I'm nice. I'm a very nice person. But this is what I don't get, is that as soon as the music gets played, you get copyrighted or whatever the case may be. I don't care. I don't expect to get paid from this. I don't care. Like, I don't care. And I know I'm not going to get famous, because I know people like me don't get famous. Nor do we want to get famous, because look at where everybody else gets when they get famous. No offense. Just saying. But this is just the podcast is going to be interesting, so I want to encourage you guys to watch along as well, and something to really think about again. So this is just something. So I'm reacting to O.J. Simpson dead, Diddy names, and Gen Z saves America on SOSCAST episode 176 with Adam Sosnick, featuring and presented by Valuetainment. I know it's a lot of sex appeal. It's not,
All right. Welcome everybody out there in internet land. Welcome to the SOSCAST. My name is Adam Sosnick. Massive show today. There's breaking news. An American hero, an American villain, an American icon found dead today. Cancer killed O.J. Simpson. We're going to talk about that. You guys are all Gen Z.
By the way, I want to really know what you guys think. What happened to OJ down in the comments below. I would really want to know. If you know what happened, I don't know what to think, but something tells me that something's off. A lot of weird things have been happening these past few months, and I think it's going to get even worse and worse and weirder and weirder. So, yeah, just let me know what you guys think down in the comments, what really happened, or what you think happened to OJ allegedly. YouTube, don't censor me. Even though
Isabel, how old are you?
I'm 26.
26. Aaron?
20.
Also, by the way, I personally believe that Gen Z is 22, 23, like ages lower than 23. To me, I think that like they're like my brother's age. Like, these girls are like all my brother's age. So it's like they are technically millennials.
25.
To me, that's just my opinion.
31. Power, looking good. Okay. Amy?
I'm 28.
Nat? Nat's still 21, 5 years later. Anyway, the point is this. You guys are indicative of you're the oldest Gen Z and the youngest millennials. I'm the oldest millennial. Malik's in the house. Malik, you're...
Also, let me know if I'm getting these generations wrong. I've been told the generations. Me personally, though, I think that, like, I'm 22. someone that's 2 years older than me, 24. That is someone that is the oldest out of Gen Z. In my opinion. Anybody that's above 25 is millennial. That's just my opinion. But I don't know that I know it's different with statistics on what really is the breakdown of the different generations. So I don't know.
26? 27, my bad, you're the youngest millennial. The point is, we're going to have a conversation today about Gen Z saving America. Isabel Brown's in the house, podcaster, author. She wrote the book, The End of the Alphabet, from A to Z. How does it go?
The End of the Alphabet, How Gen Z Can Save America.
Let's find out.
Oh, so it's a book that she wrote. Okay, so I mean, let me know what y'all think down in the comments. I mean, I don't know. I like that. I mean, the idea and the optimism and the enthusiasm that it comes with. Hey, the young generation can come back and save it. Hey, I'm all about it, but we also have to incorporate unity. That's the difference.
If that's true or not. Amazing panel on the show. Pau Stefan is here, engineer, Latina, Venezuelan.
Yes.
Okay, good. Aaron Schraderade's in the house. Last name to be named later. Progressive advocate. Okay. Best friends with Dave Rubin. No, that's you. You're best friends with Dave Rubin. Amy, most famous Australian in the
Hi, I'm
world,
back.
is
I'm
back.
I missed you
She's
guys
feeling
last
better.
week. I missed you, but I'm back.
That's right. And everyone's favorite, Natalia Del Valle, is in the house, looking like Farrah Fawcett with this hair get choked up. It's so hot. Anyway, we're gonna have a deep discussion today. Here's some of the topics we're gonna be getting into. O.J. Simpson, found dead. I actually want to know from a Gen Z perspective what you guys even know about O.J. We'll also
Yo, the fact that he already knows that we might not even know who OJ is. First and foremost, I knew who OJ was. I knew, like, I remember it coming out again and again, like spurts of it coming out after it already happened. But Gen Z knows who OJ is. Like, it's not, we're not that stupid and young, bro. Like, we're not, like, we actually know decently what went on at the end of the 90s. Let's be honest here. Like, anybody who was born in 01, born in 02, I'll say 03 too, will absolutely know what went on.
correlation to the riots in LA, if you know of anything like that. I don't expect you guys to know all this, but we're going to have a fun conversation with that. Diddy's naming names. Naming names. We're going to get deep into the second half of the show, everything about this book, The End of the Alphabet by Isabel Brown. She's talking about how Gen Z can save America, yet they're depressed, they got anxiety, they're not good in the workforce, they can't find a date, 1/3 of them can't get laid. How the hell are they going to save America if they can't save themselves? We'll have that conversation.
By the way, that's not to me personally. If I'm just gonna warn you right now, this is not gonna be meant for kids. This is not gonna be meant for children. So this is gonna be for kids. This is gonna be for teenagers that are above 18. So just know this, that, and not at the end of the day, it's not about getting laid. I'm gonna just come from a different perspective. Here, I'm gonna fix myself real quick. I'm just gonna. Okay, so let me just be straight honest right here. I do not want you to think that, oh yeah, you're a Christian, but you also do dabble into the worldly things. No, I'm just observing what they're talking about and interpreting it what the word says about it and what we should do. Okay, so that's what I'm really doing. Okay, I'm not trying to do nothing else but react and be of commentary, right? So, oh wait, that was not supposed to. What the heck? Okay, so view. Okay, so I'm gonna. Okay, there we go. So, but just know that I'm just basically reacting to what today's society is talking about now, and how Gen Z is really what's going on with Gen Z and how we can improve, and also just basic knowledge, basic general knowledge of what not to do and what our culture says about it as well at the end. So just stay tuned for it.
Are they prepared for the workforce? Borat actor Sacha Baron Cohen, after many years of being married to his wife, getting a divorce. Getting a divorce after 20 years. To talk about that, Biden's weighing in on canceling student loans again, buying votes, and the Vatican, if we have time, says that gender-affirming surgery threatens a person's unique dignity, weighing in on the transgender debate. All that and then some here on the SOSCAST. Thank you guys for joining us. If it's your first time being here, welcome. If you're a long-time listener, we love you. We appreciate you. Busy week. Well, tonight, a couple things going on. Housekeeping items, we'll get into it. Tonight, if you watch the PB podcast, if you watch Valuetainment, you know our friend, Vincent O'Shaughnessy. Well, tonight, Vinny, the wild, crazy, coincidence theory, Vinny O'Shaughnessy, is headlining at the Miami Improv, and someone you might be super familiar with. Show the thing, Malik. Your boy is emceeing tonight, okay? So I used to do stand-up comedy. It's been many years and many moons since I've done stand-up. The last time I did stand-up, I hosted for our friend Marcelo Hernandez. You can now find him on Saturday Night Live. He actually worked here before SNL. He was the writer for this show you're watching right now, the SOSCAST. Marcelo Hernandez, I love you, bro. Shout out to you. That guy's killing it. But Vinny said, all right, Sos, looking for an MC, looking for a host who knows everyone in Miami. Would you do the job? I said, Vinny, for you, anything. You can count me in. But I need 10 grand, bro. I don't leave the house without 10K. I don't leave the fucking house. He said, I said, you know what, it's fine. But the problem is Vinny doesn't even have 10 grand. So I'm doing it for free because I love Vinny, I support Vinny. But if you're in South Florida, tonight, one night only, come see Vinny O'Shaughnessy headlining at the Miami Improv. And Sus, MCing, Rob Gargiulo's going to be there from the PB Podcast. Carlos from Only in Dade is going to be performing. It's going to be a local celebrity star-studded event, and you might even run it to PBD. Invited some of my Heat player buddies. They'll show up, some models, some influencers. We'll see. Maybe even Isabel Brown will join us. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. That's why Mom always says. So, with that being said, you can all...
By the way, I think that like how this discussion goes is like it's just a very good interpretation of people with differences coming together and having discussions, okay? So like and I understand when it comes to the curse words, I understand it's not going to be, you know, for kids and such and such. I know. I want this to be for the young generation as well, and I know that they're going to regardless hear curse words, regardless of if you don't want them to speak that way, they're going to hear it anyway. So just know that I don't encourage cursing from children or young adults. I don't encourage it, period. It's a very disrespectful way of talking, and also it's a very derogatory way of talking. No one should be talking like that. It doesn't matter if you're just goofing around or not. It doesn't matter. It's just very derogatory and not necessary. But also, I know that this is going to talk about a lot of stuff that is going to be uncomfortable and maybe, you know, discomforting. So if you get uncomfortable at any point, do not hesitate to leave, and do not hesitate to unsubscribe. It will not offend me. It will not bother me. I know it is only for people's decisions, and everybody has a choice, and everybody has free will. So just wanted to say that before we continue.
Give them a neck link. If you need to find us on anyway, by the way, you should be on the neck. You familiar with this?
I am.
Let's sign her up. Let's get her in. Up there, if you want to find expert advice, it's like Cameo for smart people. It's like OnlyFans for people that don't take their clothes off.
By the way, that is Patrick Bet-David. That is also Adam Sosnick and Thomas Ellsworth. Thomas Ellsworth is on the left. In the middle is Adam Sosnick and, of course, Patrick Bet-David. But just want to let you know that, too. They're great guys, by the way.
You can find Tom, myself, PDD, Vincent O'Shaughnessy. He's on there. Malik's on there. Natalia's on there. Amy, are you on there yet?
Not yet.
All right.
I know, I can't believe it.
All right, you're too busy with your job. Let's get some clips out.
No,
It's fine.
we're gonna make it
It's
happen.
fine.
We're gonna make it happen.
Isabel will be out there. You can find us on my neck. With that being said, we have an action-packed show, and let's start the show. Nat's going to be managing the chat. If you have any super chats, Nat will read those sporadically, or at the end of the show. Amy, looking lovely in the red dress. Pal, dope as always. Aaron, fighter, sex appeal. We'll see what we got going on. And Isabel, our star for the day. Here we go. Let's start the show. So, breaking news today. We're actually on the PBD podcast this morning. Breaking news. We're sitting there with Sage Steele, ESPN commentator. Breaking news comes across the desk. O.J. Simpson dead at 76. The Drudge Report put out this piece of news. Cancer murders O.J. So there he is. That's a play on words right now.
Do you guys really think that OJ died from cancer? I'm very curious on what people want to know and what people think about it, because to me, he kept that really quiet. He kept that super quiet. I mean, don't get me wrong. Who would want to tell people that you're dying from cancer? I get it, but also, would you want people to also care for you as well? That's what I've never understood about people that had like really deep concerning health issues and didn't tell people. I mean, maybe there was a certain circle that he told, but dang, like, what about the other people that really genuinely cared about you? You know what I mean? That's to me, it's just, I don't know. It's just hard to really think about. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments, because again, he kept that quiet for a long time. I mean,
by the way, you guys are Gen Z, the youngest millennials. Before I kind of give you my
hello,
perspective,
me.
when you think of OJ,
Anybody under 20, 18, like Gen Z.
Well, I probably have a bit of a unique experience, Adam. I grew up with 2 lawyers as parents, so we loved talking about this when I was a little kid. Some of my
Oh my gosh, 2 lawyers? I thought having 2 people that work for the government. Nah, bro, you got me beat.
earliest memories were about my parents talking about the O.J. Simpson trial.
Really?
So I
What did
probably
they say?
I remember seeing it on TV. People were still talking about it on TV when I was a kid.
Conversations.
Oh, it was just fascinating.
I mean, okay, sorry, and I'm sorry I keep freaking pausing it. I like talking, but I remember when it came on, even when I was born, like a few years, like 4 or 5 years old. I remember seeing it, you know, on the television when I'd go in the living room. You know what I mean? If my parents were watching something, it came up on that, and then of course like just like talking about the case still, like. It's interesting. It was, and mind you, 2001 and 99 was not that far apart. So I mean,
trial side.
but it was like 2003, 2004, 2005, maybe. So
What was going on and all the legal.
What's your biggest memory from your 2 legal
biggest
therapists?
memories? I mean, it's vague. I was little. I was very young. I was born in 1997, so these were very.
Yeah, and the
early-
trial
early
was in
conversations.
19
okay, so like that's how much of a significant difference is. I have like to me like 96. Maybe like 90 or not 98, 98, 89 to 97 is millennials for me. That's how I've been like picturing it. Like, wait, huh?
For 1995.
Yeah.
So, but when you think of OJ in general, what do you think of?
When I think of OJ in general, I mean, I just think of my parents. I think about the fact that it was one of the most groundbreaking trials of their time. I don't know that our generation really has our version of that. There was a bit of hype around the Rittenhouse trial. There was a lot being said about the Derek Chauvin trial, but there's not a lot that you can tie back to an iconic court moment for each generation, and I think that really applies.
So what I'll tell you is this. You're absolutely right. We've never seen a double murder, or double homicide being on trial like this, but in terms of fanfare and eyeballs, here's what comes to mind. Whatever's going on with Epstein over the past X amount of years, all right? Andrew Tate, everyone's fascinated by that. And the latest story, Diddy.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with that. When I say that the world was consumed with OJ, that's not an understatement. Amy, in Australia, What do you recall about OJ? When you think of OJ, what do you think?
Not much. I didn't learn barely anything about it until I moved
Adam
here to the
Sandler
States.
said it best.
I'm curious to know though, like, did your parents think he was innocent or guilty?
I mean, I would have to ask them today. I think they generally would assume that he was guilty, but that was the big question of the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Do you think he's innocent or guilty?
I haven't looked into the court case too much, so I
Guys,
really couldn't. I know it was
no
highly.
one's on the stand here. I'm just asking
I
you.
know.
No one's on
but
the-
I didn't. You can't.
He's like, no one's on the stand here. No one's like standing. No one's like gonna come up and say like, hey, what do you think that? Well, you know, what do you think happened? It's like, dude, no one's gonna come up and talk to you about it. They all act like they're gonna get tried for it if they say something. Like, sorry, I'm just moving something over here, guys. Sorry about that. When you're tall, you know, you kind of got to find leg room. So, I'm trying to find some leg room here so I can stay in frame, but also be somewhat comfortable. But let me just see here. Okay. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So, yeah, I gotta do this real quick because
Give a verdict of guilty or innocent if you haven't actually looked into the facts, right? I mean, for me, I've heard that it was
That
highly
doesn't stop
contentious.
every single person on the
So-
internet from weighing
I
in.
mean, it was a criminal
Horrible
trial.
excuse.
It was a criminal trial, right? So that means that beyond a
civil
reasonable doubt, they convicted him of being innocent. I don't
Yes.
think that sentence made sense, but they said he was innocent, right?
He was acquitted,
And so
basically.
he was acquitted 100%. And so that means that, like, you know, 99.9%, they found that the evidence was not substantial to actually convict him. And I think that should be good enough for anybody else. But I don't know. I haven't looked into the details myself to be able to give like a resounding yes or no.
Okay, way to equivocate. By the way, there was two trials. There was a criminal trial, which he was found innocent, but it was a civil trial that came on the heels of that. He was found guilty, he had to pay millions. So how are you found innocent of murder, but in the civil trial,
Because it's on
innocent?
the balance of probability. So on the balance of probability, it means you only need 51% chance that you actually committed the offense. Whereas when you're looking beyond a reasonable doubt, it needs to be 98, 99%.
There it is,
So-
guys. There it is. There. Legalese, our legal scholar at in the house.
No legal
Aaron,
scholar. I
Aaron,
haven't.
in the house. When you think of OJ, what do you think of?
Guilty for sure, but he ended up getting in trouble. I mean, he was hit with all those fines with the civil case, but I don't know that he actually ever paid them. And then didn't he get locked up for stealing basketball memorabilia?
Yeah, he got arrested
Yeah.
many years later
And, like, for speeding.
I don't know the exact charge, but we could probably find it. But yes, he got arrested again for a shakedown for memorabilia, and it got very ugly. In a
So
sense.
it's
You're
like-
going with guilty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get the dream team to get you off for murder, but then you end up getting thrown in jail over
Oh, you
something
know about
like-
the dream team?
Yeah, because when you say it, I think of Cuba Gooding Jr. because of that FX show. They did like a reenactment of the OJ trial called like the Trial of OJ Simpson. And
Yes.
he played it, and I remember looking into it, and apparently this was like such a pivotal case for America that when they were announcing whether the verdict of the case, whether he was guilty or innocent, that Domino's Pizza reported that they didn't have for like 5 or 10 minutes a single order placed by phone across America because like all Americans, they said they were like
The
captivated by
world
this.
stopped.
Yeah.
Great perspective by Aaron. By the way, pull that up, Malik. This was, I believe, 2008. This was 1994 was the initial trial, which we're discussing. But then after that, he served years in a Nevada prison after being convicted in 2008 on 12 counts of armed robbery and kidnapping 2 sports memorabilia dealers at gunpoint in Vegas, nicknamed the Juice. O.J. Simpson was one of the best and most popular athletes of the late 60s and 70s. Pau, you were born in Venezuela?
Yes. Well, no, in Boston, but I lived there all my life in Venezuela.
Boston. When you think of OJ, what do you think of?
Like, I don't know. I think most of like what people have said to me, I do think he might be guilty because if you have a good team working for you and they do their job the right way, you know, you probably will get away with it.
No, just to be clear, when you think of OJ or naranja de jugo,
Jugo de
the
naranja.
juice, how do you
Jugo
say
de
it?
naranja.
Jugo de naranja.
Yes.
Orange juice.
Yes.
¿Te gusta?
What? The orange juice?
Yeah,
no,
you just
no,
like orange
not
juice.
OJ, but the jugo de naranja, I do like it.
I like orange juice, but not OJ.
Oh, I don't know. I saw him a couple of years ago. He used to hang out a lot. I don't know where he died, but I saw him like a couple of years ago. He will hang out all the time in Fort Lauderdale. He will be there all the time.
He was out and about, actually.
Yeah, chilling like with everybody.
Oh yeah, but you know what he said when he was out and about? He said, look, I'm still out here looking for the murderer. He's out there. I can't sleep at night. He actually said this, because I'm still out here looking for the murderer. He actually wrote a book. Malik, you can put up the O.J. Simpson book. I could be wrong. He's like, I didn't do it, but if I did, here's what I would have done.
That's so creepy. He was even texting one of my friends. It's like so crazy.
Really? He was texting one of your friends?
Yes.
Saying what?
Hey, to hang out. She was so scared.
Watch your back, girl. Watch your back.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the book right here. If I did it, Malik, what's the name of the book?
I did it.
I did it.
That is the name.
A little less.
Wow. I think you
And
put
then
the
he
H
was,
in the corner.
chilling out.
Malik, what's the name of the book?
I did it. If I did it, Confessions of a Killer.
Got it. Thank you,
the
Malik.
if?
Exactly. Last but not least, Natalia, when you think of OJ, what do you think of?
I think of a few things. I think of a case that went viral all over the world. I think a murderer who got away with it. And I think, believe it or not, Kardashians were kind of born.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That is just kind of the main, like, back-to-back.
Tell us
things.
why, Natalia.
Because obviously, their dad was a main point in that case. And I feel like a lot of people took advantage of this case as a jumpstart for marketing, whatever journey they were going on. And look, this is a perfect example. He made a book, If I Did It. Kardashians took advantage of the opportunity. They blew up, and they basically run the social media world today. I just think about the team that it took to make this case kind of go through and watch it even play out. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I wouldn't say I know like the exact of it. But yeah, he's a murderer.
Point W Del Valle for Nat. W Nat right there. She's absolutely right. You talked about it. Our friend Aaron, the haterade in the house. Straighterade, my bad. So O.J. Simpson, this was a cultural phenomenon. By the way, I didn't watch him playing football in the 60s and 70s, but he was one of the best NFL players of all time. Won the Heisman, I believe, for USC, so he was out there in L.A. What was that?
1968 Heisman winner.
1968 Heisman winner, gets drafted, goes to the Buffalo Bills, one of the best running backs in the league, 2,000 yards, absolute stud, one of the first guys to cross over from the NFL into Hollywood. He starts doing movies, specifically the Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen. If you remember that genre of movies. No, maybe I'm just dating myself. Naked Gun. You can pull up a picture, Malik. I'm sure you can find it. Malik's very quick on the ones and twos. I said Naked Gun. He pulls it right up. I want to say his name in the movie was Norberg. Yeah, there it was. Naked Gun. Awesome movie. Yeah, you remember that stuff? So 1994, out of nowhere, breaking news. 2 people murdered at OJ's house. Oh shit! What? Turns out it's his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman. I remember being in middle school at the time. And guys, there's no social media, there's no TMZ, it's just the news. Like, there's the big 3, there's ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN's a thing, Fox is just kind of starting out at this point. The world is consumed. It's one of the first, like, televised trials in American history. Nobody is not watching this trial. It's a cultural phenomenon. So what happens is he puts together, as Aaron said, and as Nat mentioned, the dream team of lawyers. Here are the lawyers. Tell me if you see this name. This OJ dream team is represented by a high-profile defense team led by Johnny Cochran, who famously made the phrase, "If the glove don't fit, you must acquit." And like, yeah, homeboy was rapping in the courthouse. And what happened was one of the main reasons that he got off was he went to go put the glove on. That they found at the trial. There it is, right there.
Can you get a picture of the glove?
Yeah, find the glove, but keep that picture in a second, but find the glove. He's struggling to put the glove on. You know, he says like, don't tell, show, don't tell. He showed, and everyone's like, oh shit! The glove don't fit, you must have quit! Like, everyone's going crazy. And Johnny Cochran makes a name for himself as like the lead attorney with there it is, right?
First and foremost, I have a theory about what happened in that trial. I believe what happened in that trial was, and I remember watching a clip about this too, was that apparently, I think that what I've heard from the clip that I saw, the video clip source that I saw, that this person had this information, said that he had a person tell him, OJ, to not take his medicine because it would make his hands swell up. I think it would be like a blood pressure medicine or whatever the case may be, right? And then they already had him put on rubber gloves because they didn't want to damage the evidence. So there's no way you're going to figure out if he actually put on the gloves, because you never really made him put on the gloves with his bare hands because you're risk of trial, you know. But I mean, it makes sense. But also the fact that that lawyer said that what he said just gives it away.
It just didn't fit at the time. Ironically,
You could squeeze that. You could do something.
there's probably a better picture because even in the
that picture's a
videos.
bit questionable.
Yeah.
That's about right.
The lawyers that were defending him, Robert Shapiro, massive lawyer at the time, F. Lee Bailey, massive attorney, Alan Dershowitz, who's still a major name in the legal world. He's the Harvard professor on the Constitution. Okay, he's still out there. We've interviewed him on PBD Podcast a few times. And then Nat, absolutely right. If you show that picture, Malik, one of the lawyers in the Dream Team was a man named Robert Kardashian.
Okay.
Show that picture.
Sorry about
So Robert Kardashian, he's all the way on the right, next to Johnny Cochran, which is next to OJ. Robert Kardashian, obviously, was the father of all the Kardashians. So he died, I want to say, I don't know, early 2000s, whatever it was.
I think he died in 99, 98. I've heard that from some people, but I'm not sure. My mom said that to me one time, and I'm not sure.
Then became Kris Jenner. She married Bruce Jenner, who was a man at the time. Now Caitlyn Jenner. By the way, she weighed in. Caitlyn Jenner weighed in. I just gender appropriated her correctly. She weighed in and she said, I used to be friends with O.J. Simpson, but now, quote unquote, good riddance. Gloria Allred, who was the lawyer for Nicole Brown Simpson's family during the trial, she tells TMZ, O.J. Simpson's death reminds us that the legal system, even 30 years later, is still failing battered women, and that the power of celebrity men to avoid the true justice for the harm that they inflict on their wives or significant others is still a major obstacle to the right of women to be free of the gender violence of which they are still subjected. In my opinion, this is a stretch, Gloria. You're talking about double homicide. It's a little aggressive when you talk about some of the cases that she's been a part of, Johnny Depp case, other cases like that. By the way, when a female makes a comment like that, saying, the legal system still reminds us that 30 years later, it's that women are still being battered, and that the power of celebrity men to avoid true justice for the harm they inflict on their wives is still a major obstacle. Do you agree with her or disagree?
You know, it's interesting. On the premise of those words by themselves, I don't disagree that there are powerful people escaping crimes largely related to exploitation of women and children, but I think we're looking in all of the wrong places for that in society, or the real cases aren't really being brought to court. You just mentioned that this generation's version of this is kind of related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep.
We still haven't been able to let that go, nor should we, because we still demand answers on what the
Thank you.
looking like in terms of the most powerful people in
Yes,
our country
exactly.
and the world.
Exactly. We need to be able to, first and foremost, the rich people need to be taking accountability. The fact that people are not letting them take accountability for their actions is absolutely unacceptable to me. It's a disgrace to the American people. And yeah, we need to know what's going to be happening in the future. So all this crap that's coming out right now, like how Cat Williams said, 2024 is all nothing but smoke. We need to know that. It doesn't need to be all just sprung up and be brought up whenever it needs to be. And we need to know now.
Escaping true justice simply because of power, but you look at some of those other cases like the Johnny Depp case, etc., and I think there's a weird perversion happening in the justice system right now where we do have a two-tiered system those that are powerful and wealthy and politically connected escape justice, but she's not talking about that. She's talking about the era of the Me Too movement that unfortunately has been co-opted by those seeking an easy route to notoriety and maybe an easy buck in the process for just accusing people when there's no legal substantiation for that.
Awesome answer. You say that the two-tiered system of justice. What evidence do you have, or what case examples do you have that these days, namely Trump? What else do you see out there in the legal
As a legal nerd,
yes.
myself, certified.
Two lawyer parents.
My eyes were glued to the Derek Chauvin trial for this very reason, and it reminded me a lot of, even before there was virality. Yes, it is. It is the police officer who was convicted of killing George Floyd. It reminded me a lot of the virality, so to speak, of the OJ trial, even before there was social media. You're right, every eye was glued to this case. And the power of the court of public opinion versus the court of law. I think in the OJ trial, you didn't see the court of public opinion really infiltrate a jury's mind, but in the Derek Chauvin trial, typically to convict somebody of homicide, you have to have a massive preponderance of evidence. You cannot convict beyond the shadow of a
it has to be undeniable evidence that that person actually committed that unlawful act.
There was ample doubt in this particular criminal case that that was the reason for this person's passing away, George Floyd. In fact, there are documents from coroners saying asphyxiation is not the reason that George Floyd passed away. He passed away because of a drug overdose. So you had the evidence right in front of you, and yet you were watching the court of public opinion threaten to kill every single one of these jurors and their families. They were being doxxed on the internet, and of course now we know that he was convicted and is spending the rest of his life in prison.
What do you think it actually was, by the way, Derek Chauvin? Do you think George Floyd was killed by a knee on the neck and asphyxiation, or for a drug problem?
No, he was not killed through asphyxiation. If you study all of the coroner's report,
to me, I read up about George Floyd. To me personally, he wasn't a clean dude. He had a record. He was not a clean dude, but he also did not deserve to die. No one deserves to die. No one. But he also was not a clean dude. He didn't have the best track record, let's just say that. But he also did not deserve to die. So it's also something to think about here.
All of the medical documents, it is shocking that more people haven't taken the time to read this. It's public opinion or public record. You can go look it up for yourself. I'm very grateful for people like Candace Owens exposing this in documentaries. She made a film about this a few years ago that was mind-blowingly fascinating that the media just refused to cover. And it just goes to show, especially with the Trump cases going on today, with the complete lack of investigation into what's happening in the Jeffrey Epstein circle, the people in positions of power in our justice system are not really interested in convicting people of crimes. They're interested in pandering to the court of public opinion.
100%.
And the whole thing with the whole George Floyd incident is there was an underpinning narrative that they were trying to spread. And so he was used in that situation to be able to spread a message, even though, like, on the validity of what he actually experienced, like, there wasn't any type of justice in that people were actually proclaiming and feeling like they were being vindicated in some way. Like, no, this should not be your idol for what you're espousing in any way, shape, or form.
We're going to do a poll right now of how do you think George Floyd was killed? Because actually we're going to transition to another part of that story.
There's no actual poll. This is from a couple days ago. I think a week ago, honestly, but yeah.
Was it actually asphyxiation? Or was it a drug overdose? Because a lot of people are going to be like, hell no, he would have not have died if that officer's knee was not on his neck. Do you think that if he didn't get pulled over or stopped and the officer didn't have his knee in his neck, he would have died that day?
Most experts who have studied this case would agree that he would have died that day. There was so much fentanyl in his system that he would have died that day. Unfortunately, because of the power of the media and now virality from social media, just as like a total side note, I would be fascinated to see if the OJ case happened today, how social media would have treated it, because instantly you can spread a narrative so quickly. You saw one video taken from one specific angle. If you look at the same situation even from a different angle, he's not actually bearing any weight on the knee on this man's neck. And so it's fascinating the more that's able to be uncovered about this a few years out from this event happening. But at the time, you get one video that instantly garners hundreds of millions of views, and that forms most people's public opinion because we don't get our information from primary sources. We don't usually take the time to watch full trials anymore, as we did in the OJ era. We watch a 15-second clip on
Are
Twitter.
you in agreement with Isabel that
Completely. It formed a movement. Black Lives Matter was a movement that was spawned from the whole George Floyd incident. And that movement is one of the most, pivotal things, I think, that has really pushed this social justice warrior narrative that has made so many people feel validated in being the social justice warrior and being holier than thou. A lot of that came from this George Floyd situation.
But it wasn't just George Floyd, to be fair. It did start with that, but there's
Michael
10
Brown,
other names. There's Michael Brown, there's
Castillo.
Ahmaud Arbery, there was who else?
Philando Castile.
There was tons of...
Yeah, but no one can say that was not the,
Black Lives Matter started in 2013. By the way, where do you stand on the subject of George Floyd?
I feel like we didn't watch the same video. From what I saw, I think it's... I don't think anybody is irrational for assuming that were it not for Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck, George Floyd wouldn't have died. And even regardless of what, in a hypothetical where he hadn't died, I think it's appropriate to ask, is that the way that police officers should be handling interactions and Terry stops and regular stops with
Absolutely.
Yes, because if someone is a threat, the threat needs to be neutralized. What you don't understand is that I don't care how big you are, buff you are, whatever the case may be. You're telling me you're not going out there with an 80-pound to 100-pound vest with all the gear on it, and you got to carry a 45 caliber pistol, and if you are a K9, you have a K9 in the back, and if you have an AR, and if you have other weapons, you need to make sure you're trained with those other weapons and self-defense and training courses. Because you're going to be in combat. So my thing is that first and foremost, if you disarm a cop, the cop has no use, the cop has no force at all. So if you want to take away guns, that's good. That's what's going to happen. And not only that, when it comes to training, they don't. It's again how she's about to say is about their training, what they need to be learning, what could be different, what could be needing improvement, right?
Community, and it's to me, I think it's entirely inappropriate because what he was accused of, to me, didn't warrant that sort of rough handling. I can't really think of a circumstance where it would be appropriate for a police officer to be getting rough with an alleged assailant or somebody that they a suspect in that way.
I love that, and I love that we can create common ground on that because I absolutely agree. Unfortunately, because of the powerful narrative and because of how quickly they tapped into people's emotions on this subject, we didn't even get to ask that question societally. Nobody got to ask the question, well, how should that stop have been conducted differently? Should we have a different different conversation nationally about how police proceedings should be unveiling in the United States? Instead, it instantly turned into the question of white cop murders black victim, police brutality, let's donate hundreds of millions of dollars to this organization that wasn't appropriately used to combat a lot of these issues. It was used to purchase $10 million mansions in Los Angeles for places to hold parties. And now Black Lives Matter, has ceased to exist? I mean, we haven't really heard much from the organizers of the movement in the last 6 months
put
to a
towards
year.
trans ideologies as well, right? There was a lot of money that was funneled back into these different trans movements.
Well, I think here, just to kind of hone in on this, here's what I can tell you, because I remember we started the PPD podcast in 2020. I was in Dallas at the time, and COVID had just happened. George Floyd had just happened. BLM was a movement. The NBA, all the sports stuff shut down. The NBA was still doing the NBA playoffs, the NBA finals in the bubble in Orlando. Ron DeSantis became a national star from keeping Florida open. Social justice, all the names on every single jersey, everything was going on there. End racism went on there. And I can tell you that emotions ran high. And it's so hard to navigate the truth when emotions are ramping up so much. So any reasonable person, and I mean reasonable to a certain extent, when you say, hey, do you agree with Black Lives Matter? Most people will be like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, Black Lives, I put the black square, I get it. What about the movement? The blacks, are you part of the movement? It's well, I don't really know much about the movement. And then you get the social justice warriors kind of did you put up the square or not? Are you with us or are you against us? And then all of a sudden some smart people will say, hey, look, but by the way, Black Lives Matter, they got this thing called a website. And on their website, you can just go to their website. It turns out that it's a Marxist, socialist, collectivist, anti-nuclear family organization. And there's a lot of reasonable people that are yeah, I'm not down with the Black Lives I'm down with Black Lives Matter, but I'm not like down with Black Lives Matter, the movement. You know what I'm saying? So like most people are just running on whatever they see on the screen, whatever the black square is, whatever the prevailing narrative is. They're not doing the research going deep, and that's what happens. I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Full disclosure. To this day, I'm like, yeah, the knee on the neck, I mean, that couldn't have been good for his breathing. But I've also heard the argument where, like, homeboy had so much fentanyl in his body that it would have killed a small animal or a big human easily. So we'll see. By the way, do you have a video of that, Malik?
Yeah.
Play this video. Let me know what you guys think. If this was asphyxiation or... Okay, so I don't think there's any doubt that he did have drugs in his system. Okay?
I'm sorry, I don't think I should show that because I think it's just disrespectful personally. But we gotta listen to it anyway, so.
Okay? But if you're on drugs and homeboy's knee is on your neck, at the very least, can we admit that's not helping your breathing?
Absolutely. And, you know, this is the video that we all watched, I don't know how many times in May and June of 2020. Watching this video, of course you should feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Of course there's a part of your human soul that's looking at another human being saying, something is wrong with this picture. Unfortunately, what's devastating is that this video and a screenshot of this video became the whole story.
Yeah.
Nobody read coroner's reports. Nobody asked the doctors who performed his autopsy what the cause of death was. That barely was even talked about in the courtroom.
Great point. Who's reading an autopsy report? Who's reading the doctor's reports? You see a video, a knee's on a neck, the guy ends up dead. I've done my research. I've done my due diligence.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. That was kind of a bold statement, or it wasn't a bold statement for Adam because he won't read a court document, but the fact that, I mean, of course a teenager wouldn't either, but like if you say that you love to research and you're in tune with what's going on, then you should be able to read a court document or even an article.
Yeah, the cop killed him. By the way, the jury found him guilty. I think how many years is he spending in jail now? Life in prison. That's insane. I'm a cop. I'm doing your job. Kind of sucks. But did you do a poll? What do you got so far?
So far, we got 75% of people are saying that it was a fentanyl overdose.
Wow.
Interesting. That surprises me.
Our audience ain't woke.
That
I
surprises
guess.
me.
Aaron, you're surprised at those results?
No,
I'm not woke, so I wouldn't use that answer.
Probably.
not from this audience.
Yeah. No, our audience is very reasonable. This
That's why I'm not surprised. But
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
what do you say on
I
this,
think
pal?
that maybe if he wouldn't have had that much drugs on his system, he would be alive, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's it.
If he didn't have that much drugs in his system, meaning if he didn't have all the drugs,
Yeah,
if a knee on the neck, you would have been just fine.
Pressure on your neck and like you're
Gotcha.
fine, you just keep calm and breathe and that's
Fair
it.
point.
But
Fair
the
point.
drugs
It's probably
is what
a good
maybe-
combination of both. Nat, where are you at with this?
I would love to show the video of how he was acting before they put his knee on the neck. He was acting crazy, insane. Like, how do you get someone to come down, after being off of all those drugs? You're acting insane in public. You're going into stores. Like, if you look at the size of even George Floyd and you look at the size of the police officers, you have to also consider that. But I think, again, people just picked what they wanted to see. And
it's crazy how then, like,
it's marketing. They used this and they collected millions and billions of dollars from all these people all around the world, and poof, gone.
So, by the way, last point, and then we'll transition to the next thing. By the way, in PBD Podcast, PBD had a guest recently called Roland G. Fryer. Were you part of that, Malik?
Yeah, it was.
By the way, where are you standing on the George Floyd situation?
I mean, you can't argue with the report. I mean, it's official. He died of asphyxiation, but I don't think kneeling on somebody's neck while they're overdosing is appropriate.
Yeah, and I wish that was the conversation we got to have. Sadly,
But it was not.
reasonable heads did not.
I think there's black, there's white, there's this, there's a certain gray area that has nuance and deeper discussion and research and due diligence that the average person is not willing to have, nor quite frankly should they. I don't need my local teacher doing research on George Floyd and taking time off of school. I don't need the local construction worker. Look, I actually read the coroner's report here. Let me tell you something here, buddy. Like, most people aren't going to do that, but most people are just going to weigh in on what they think without actually checking the facts, and they're going to use their feelings and emotions, not logic and research. So it is what it is. We had this guy on PBD podcast, Roland G. Fryer. Malik, were you part of that conversation? Were you there in the studio that day?
I was there.
What do you remember from that day? And you can pull up a picture of this guy.
Yeah, I got a clip from the show, just a video.
Yeah, go for it. By the way, PBD, is it cool if we use? Okay, yeah, he was cool. Go ahead.
I just skipped through it just to show the conversation that they had.
I was not aware of what was going to come. So when we had the results, we pursued two tracks. One, you obviously publish it, and we published it on a topic in our journal. Great, 7 people read it, maybe 6. The second path is we wanted a more popular version of the article, so the New York Times wrote about it. And for me personally, when people respond, people send an email and say, hey, your paper's crap, or hey, your paper's great. I do all I can to return every single one of those. And so for me,
what he's doing is responding to the aftermath of a video that he did. If you actually back up, show that video that he was commenting on. Do you have that?
Yep.
Because it's actually pretty important. Go ahead.
Was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found the surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page, dense, academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay?
So, 254-page document, a 254-page article, including evidence.
It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they said, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it.
Bingo.
We'll see what happens.
So this is exactly what Isabel's talking about. And look, none of us are legal scholars, but we do have a pretty big following here on Valuetainment. You're obviously part of the Rubin Report. Shout out to Dave Rubin. We have a voice. We have opinions. And what this guy, Roland G. Fryer, he is a Harvard economist and professor. And he did research. He said it was 150-page reports with the data. He said he found the evidence. He had 8 researchers. He found the research. Let them go. Had 8 more researchers come in to fact check. He said they found the exact same results. And what were the results he came up with? Is that when it came to like policing, bumping up against cars, low level, hey, what are you doing? Put your hands behind your back. That there was a little bit of racial bias. But when it came to police shootings and murders and deaths, homicides, George Floyd could be talking about, other names he talked about, Eric Garner was a name. Ahmed Aubrey. Who else were some of these names?
Philando
Castillo. Michael Brown. The names that basically spawned BLM. He found there was zero evidence in racial bias. And every one of his colleagues said, don't you fucking report that. That goes against the narrative. And he's like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah, they all want to paint a narrative for a certain way. It's just as simple as that. And that's why they don't want people like Roland G. Fryer to post articles like this. They don't want videos of Alex Jones going crazy because everybody thinks that he's going crazy.
If I found different evidence, should I put it out there? They're like, yeah, at that point you can do that. And he said, I have to put this out there. What's the name of the thing? Can you read it?
An empirical analysis of racial differences in police use of force.
Okay, 150 pages. And to Isabel's credit, nobody's reading this.
No. Nobody wants to read a 150-page Harvard report, right? Instead, they're going to scroll all the way down to the conclusion sentence of that document, and if it goes against the narrative, they're not going to publish it. They'll lose their livelihood.
Do you give this guy credit? You appreciate what he did?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if we can pull up that report again. This report was published in July of 2017. This predates most of the conversations we've had in America about racial bias in policing, and yet this has been the evidence for a very, very, very long time. People have been asking these questions for a very, very, very long time.
Something to think about, guys.
Media doesn't want to cover that.
Something to think about, guys.
Wants to report on everything's fine. You know.
Here's my question to Isabel, because the second half of the podcast today we're going to be focusing specifically on Gen Z. Obviously, Gen Z cares about the culture wars and the social justice.
They do.
Even the you know, a lot of them are seeing like, oh, Osama bin Laden, he's actually the good guy. No, Hamas, they're the good guys, right? They're anti, you know.
I'm only going to speak on this briefly because it's a sensitive topic right now. From a Christian's perspective, we already know what Israel means to us. So it's self-explanatory. But we just need to be very, very observant and very vigilant with what's going on when it comes to Israel, when it comes to the Middle East. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to cross any boundaries with YouTube. But that's all I got to say.
Defund the police movement, all these movements that are popping up, BLM. Why is Gen Z, your people, sort of just not on board with basically every other American generation above?
In what way? Not
in
on board.
any of this data. Gen Z for the most part would be the people saying, yeah, don't push this narrative. They're the ones marching
I would highly disagree with that, actually, and I think it is our generation that is arguing for a preponderance of the facts, for objective reality. You know, it's interesting, we'll talk about this at large with the book on every cultural issue, but the left, the authoritarian, censorship-driven, dictatorial left, has strategically, for decades in this country, worked to take over every pillar of American culture and society. On my live stream last week, we read the published 40 goals for the Communist Party from 60 years ago for how to take over America, and it was things like taking over the church, taking over the education system, taking over the entertainment industry.
Did she just name off the entire list of what we're looking at? Something to think about, guys.
Arguably, they've already done all of
those
things.
Rules for Radicals, or what was the
Rules for Radicals adopted a lot of this, but this actually came from a book called The Naked Communist, and it was read into the congressional record in 1963, I believe. So this has been happening for 60-plus years, and we're reading through all of these goals, which arguably have been accomplished, and if you start thinking about it, the left has hijacked the education system. We see that easily on college campuses, but everywhere else, too. They've taken over the entertainment industry.
It started in colleges, in university colleges. Now it's working its way down to high school and middle school.
Taken over the mainstream media. They've taken over published reports like this one, the judicial system, the church, the political system in America. And if that's the case, what does every young generation want to do throughout all of human history? They want to rebel against the people who came before them. If the left is the status quo, is the norm in every aspect of what it means to be an American today, including covering up objective truth, seeking objective truth, sharing it with others, is the most punk rock countercultural thing you can do, and that's so appealing to our generation.
Yeah, it is. It is very much so, because how can you think that not doing something morally right is not the way to go. And you think that when you do something morally wrong, you can just move on and get past it. Like, no, you can't.
There's a list of issues that Gen Z cares about, right? Women's rights, abortion,
Women's rights, abortion.
Very, very big. Obviously, inflation, immigration. What do you think is the number one issue for most Gen Z people?
For everyday social life, or for how we're going to cast our
all the
ballot in
above.
November?
This is what you focus on.
Social issues in general rank far, far higher than any economic issue for this generation of people. And I think that scares people, particularly on the political right, because it's been very effective throughout American history to convince Americans your wallet is on the ballot. You need to vote for better tax policy. You need to vote to afford filling up your car with gas, buying groceries at the end of the week, higher
It's
wages.
the economy, stupid, as James Carville said. You vote with your pocketbook.
Well, the economy has always sucked for Generation Z, to put it plainly, with a
Or for
very
young
small
people.
lapse in there under President Donald Trump. So we've always been told, look, you're never going to be able to afford a house. Your job is probably not going to pay you enough. Taxes are going to suck every single year. Gas is going to get more expensive every single year. Just get used to it. So that doesn't resonate with us anymore. But what does is this prevailing narrative that people are going to literally die in school shootings if you don't vote for social issues in November. People are going to literally die in botched abortions if you don't vote for the Democrat Party. And so we're talking a whole lot more about gender theory, about abortion, about the environment, about police racism, and all of these things.
When it comes to police racism, because I wanted to stay on this topic, wasn't it Gen Z that was marching with BLM? It wasn't.
In the summer
It wasn't
of
the boomers.
2020.
Yeah, it
Well,
wasn't
so
the
think about
boomers.
this.
It wasn't Gen Xers. It was very rare. Millennials were kind of working. It was Gen Z. It was your people.
Yes and no, and I think this is so important to distinguish who is Generation Z here for a second, because
I'm thinking it's
most
25
people
and
are
under.
lumping in
25 and under.
millennials and Gen Z together. We were born in 1997 through 2012, so as of today, the oldest Gen Zers are turning 27. I'll be 27 next month, but the bulk of us are still teenagers and preteens. They were at school during 2000.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I can agree with what she just said on the age gap between the generations. That makes sense.
They weren't
for Gen
burning
Z.
down inner cities. Largely that was happening with the younger cohort of millennials and some older Gen Zers as well. But I'm watching this narrative that has been tacked on to millennials, no offense millennials, arguably pretty accurately, that it was a lazy, apathetic, socialistic, scream at the sky, emotional, crybaby generation. All of those words are being tacked on to this next generation, and societally and culturally alike, we're not adhering to any of the same values as millennials. I think if a George Floyd situation happened today, there would still be rampant protests, but most of them would not be happening with teenagers and college students and young 20-somethings.
Well said. Aaron, what were you doing during the BLM riots? Were you participating? Were you posting black squares? Where do you stand on the social justice and the school and the police shootings and all this?
No, I was at home quarantining because this was like at the height of like the beginning of the pandemic and the quarantine and stuff like that. So we didn't know much about the virus. So even though people were outside masking up, I was from like a very small town. I was just in South Texas at my home. I was seeing all this play out on social media, but I myself wasn't participating. But I was largely supportive of the movement for the most part. I believe there's a study showing that like 90% of the BLM protests, for the most part, were nonviolent, peaceful, just people demonstrating their right to free assembly, to protest the brutality that they saw in that video, because I think even though police shooting, like there's a lot of emphasis on police shootings, even though they're very, very rare, for the most part, that's not where the bulk of like violent police interactions with civilians even occurs. Like I think only like 50 or so people died last year from police shootings, and then even less cops were shot in the line of fire. It's like it's a very, very low number. So to me, like fixating on that kind of misses the broader point of people's like issues with the criminal justice system going beyond just unjustified police shootings and having more to do with the system of like how policing works in the United States.
Gotcha. So we just had this conversation about OJ. We had this conversation about what OJ led to. We had the conversation about policing, and our friend Ronald Fryer and the evidence. But we also understand that emotions run high, especially when it comes to race. So, you guys, you young folk out here, and Amy, who was in Australia, probably remember this, but the summer of 2020, the BLM You know, America experienced a lot of this in the early 90s. Like, we've seen this before, where race riots, we've seen it in the late 60s, 1968, MLK was murdered, Bobby Kennedy, JFK, a handful of years earlier. But in the early 90s, there were race riots in America, specifically in LA. And you guys remember that or familiar with those stories? No? Nat, remember this? Amy? No?
Familiar, but
How?
too
I
young.
kind of saw the news, but not.
Okay.
That.
I know,
Remember
I've
this?
heard of like rooftop Koreans. I feel like I've seen that meme.
Rooftop Koreans?
Yeah, it was like Koreans that were defending their businesses from like
That's
riots,
part
stuff
of it.
like that.
That's
was
part
one
of
thing
it.
that I remember
So
seeing.
Malik, you know about this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know a little bit.
So, it was a story, and the figurehead, the George Floyd of the early 90s was a guy named Rodney King. He's not dead. He's alive. He's talking. But he got the living shit beat out of him by 4 cops. What videos do you have that you can show? What's the first one? Rodney King?
Yeah, there's some talking in court, and then there's also footage of the riots.
So I would play the video of him. I think it's the first video I sent you.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
We all get along? Can we get along?
These are 4 cops.
I cannot show that, guys. I'm sorry.
On the side of a room.
I'm trying to catch him as fast as I can. But.
So, yeah, I don't know if we can play that music, but there was an article out there. All right, so here it led to a high police chase. He wasn't pulled over. Eventually, yeah, then they beat the crap out of him. Yeah. But nobody saw the first part of the video. Look, this is how he ended up being. Nobody saw the first part of the video of him speeding, going the wrong way down the highway, crashing into another car. Eventually, he got out. And you can play this though, Malik. Go ahead.
To deserve that, I didn't see the very beginning of it. I thought maybe I tried to hit a policeman or something.
Okay. There's another video, basically what happened in LA. You have that? The Dangerous Night in LA, 1992. Okay. And by the way, go to the, I think it's in the middle of the video. You can see where it peaks. Yeah. Go to like 55 seconds.
There are fires burning, there are people being beaten, there is looting. It is a dangerous night in the city of Los Angeles.
Okay. So this was in 1992. LA burnt down. You talk about, what'd you call it? The Korean what?
The rooftop Koreans.
The rooftop Koreans, part of the reason was, just like we saw in the BLM riots, they started going after stores and trying to break down stores and basically harass stores and break it all down, break windows. And in LA, the Koreans, they're like, yo, come on in our stores. And they were on the rooftops, they had weapons, like it was gang warfare. And it was emotions running high, and a lot of it was race riots, straight up. And it was black people that were fucking pissed. And if I saw that video, and I've been roughed up by the police, by the way, this is on the heels of one of the biggest groups in the world at the time, that had a song called Fuck the Police. Ice Cube, Public Enemy, there was a group out there, straight out of Compton. What was Ice Cube part of? NWA. Exactly.
NWO.
So they are pissed. And it's all going out in Compton. Like, maybe I'm just dating myself a little bit right here. But they were fucking pissed.
I just wanted to hear you sing it.
So,
Sorry about
and I
that.
said, you know what? This George Floyd, this OJ, this all hit me today with OJ. I said, why was OJ innocent? What led to that? And I said, what do I remember from the early 90s? Oh shit, Rodney King. Oh shit, the riots. Oh, okay. And then pull up this article right here. There's an article that's called Race and Justice, Rodney King and O.J. Simpson in a house divided. Do you have that, Malik? There it is. Race and justice. So here, I don't know if you can read that, Malik. The animation.
This analysis
Yeah,
of the trials
annotation.
of O.J. Simpson and the police officers tried for beating Rodney King emphasizes how the race issue was central to both of these cases and how the verdicts were virtually predictable given the racial compositions of the juries and their different experiences with the police.
Okay, this is exactly what you're talking about with Derek Chauvin, why he was found guilty because public opinion over the court of opinion. So Rodney King, by the way, the reason that the riots happened, just to be clear, the cops that were found beating him, do you think they were innocent or guilty?
Probably found not guilty.
I don't know. It depends because people exaggerate things. You know, he might be
No,
a
I'm
bad
saying
guy
in court. Do you think? Yes, in court.
In trial where they found
I don't know.
innocent or guilty.
What do you think?
Well, probably
Guilty.
innocent.
You think that the guys were found guilty?
I think they probably found not guilty, no?
Okay, what do you think?
I don't know.
The guys that were beating Rodney King. What do you think,
The
Nat?
guys,
I
don't
think
know
they were
whether-
not guilty. I think they were not guilty. I don't think they got. I think they got tried for it, but never got convicted for it. Or and if they did get convicted for it, they got let out like within a week or two.
They were found guilty.
You think they were found
because-
guilty?
Because the riots happened.
Okay, so you guys are all wrong. Aaron's right.
Really?
They were found not guilty, hence the race riots. Okay? So there's another article about the juror. Do you have that?
Yeah, I got it.
Pull that up, Rome. Here's a juror. The O.J. Simpson juror full on admits that the not guilty verdict was payback for Rodney King. Okay? She says, can you see the under headline? What does that say? Juror, yeah, can you see it?
Tells OJ Made in America that she was among 90% of the jurors seeking payback.
There it is, guys. We talk about bias and like, I have no clue how Donald Trump is going to get a fair trial. Tell me in America who doesn't have an opinion one way or another about Trump.
I was thinking about that the other day, that we're entitled to a jury of our peers, we're entitled to people who wouldn't have emotions about whatever you're on trial for. Is there a single American citizen today that could be a member of a jury
How?
that doesn't have an opinion on Donald
Show
Trump?
me one person that's like, just go up to any person on the street. What do you think about Trump? Not one person's going to be like, don't know much about him.
Right.
Haven't heard of him.
What does that leave us with? How are we supposed to ever investigate a president that's accused of wrongdoing?
Correct. But if we're using I think that's all of our point, is that there's always going to be some level of a bias. Here's a juror in the OJ trial who low-key 25 years later is like, yeah, straight up, I voted not guilty because of the motherfucking riots. What? Like, how is she not facing a penalty at this point? But she admitted that she found OJ not guilty because it was
It's like a fuck
payback.
you.
Wow.
Yeah. So, very interesting conversation. By the way, go back to the, just to tie everything together, there was a TMZ video of OJ and denying that he's dying. You have that?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
So the video that I think I remember this too, about this video too, because it's something to really think about. Remember what God lets us know. He exposes things to us, maybe like that's not really the same person, or that person might be possessed. Something to think about when we see this clip right here. And then we'll wrap it up. There'll be a part 2 for this, so don't worry.
Hey, X-World. Hospice? Hospice?
Talking about
Talk about
practice.
hospice.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at this face. Look at this face right here. Do you think that's O.J. Simpson?
No, I'm not.
Look at that.
Any hospital. I don't know who put that out there, but whoever put that out there, I guess it's like the Donald said. Can't trust the media. In any event, I'm hosting a ton of friends for the Super Bowl here in Las Vegas. All is well, you know. So hey guys, take care. Have a good Super Bowl weekend.
Okay. So we know that the Super Bowl was February?
Yeah.
2 months ago? But it was very interesting what he said there. Can't trust the media.
Yep.
I think the prevailing narrative, and I'm going to give you the final word on this, Isabel, is who can you trust at this point? You know, you go to court, the jury, she's admitting that they're biased, the media shows something, there's race riots because they're beating the shit out of Rodney King. Turns out he actually was speeding down a one-way and the cops were beating him up. George Floyd, the knee on the neck. People think, all right, police brutality. You have Roland Fryer saying, actually, there's no police brutality. You have so many different opinions. You know, I made the joke that I don't want, like, my construction worker being like, yeah, on page 154 here of Roland Fryer's report, it shows, most people aren't going to take the time. But the reality is you don't really ever know, like, who to trust or what's going on. How do you process all this as someone who I find very reasonable and does her research?
What I think is heartbreaking more than anything about news and information today is that there is no such thing as objective truth anymore. Everybody has an agenda, everybody has a bias, particularly the media outlets that we're supposed to trust to be unbiased, that we're supposed to trust to be verified sources of journalism. And so I think we're in a crisis right now, not just on this issue, but in public health, in what our government is spending our taxpayer dollars on, in education, in every area of life. Because if there's no trusted expert and there's no general public trust in any of our institutions, where do we go from there? And on one side, that's heartbreaking. On the other side,
I've always asked the question, do we want to be told and fed the truth, or do we want to be fed and told lies? And most of the time, every single person has always told me that they want to be told lies. And I'm like, okay, cool.
A really incredible opportunity in a bit of entrepreneurship of ideas and values. Ordinary people are taking the time to be the media when the media is refusing to do that. And you're watching this rise of independent journalism and commentators who aren't afraid to share their opinion on something. They'll present something with a bias, but they'll at least go ask all of the questions that journalists, so to speak, are refusing to do so. So seeing podcasts like this one, independent media, people with YouTube channels in their spare bedroom sitting in sweatpants and a sweatshirt every day, really being willing to tell the truth when the media isn't doing that is really exciting for this next generation.
Well,
it is.
I think we've seen on both sides of the aisle, on the left and the right, journalists are now activists and ideologues, and they're pushing a narrative, and it's hard to find the truth. You know, on Fox News, as an example, they're fair and balanced. Are they? Are they actually fair and balanced, or are they just on the team right? The CNN is like where you can trust, most trusted source of news. You seen how much people fucking trust you these days, CNN? So it's like that's why independent media and and podcasts like this are becoming more trusted. Like Joe Rogan is more trusted than anyone on CNN or on Fox News, by far. I think it was Bill Maher who's probably the most trusted name in liberal media. It was interesting, Bill Maher. The last thing I'll tell you is this. They said like previously we were the information age. Now it is now the verification age. Information is easy. All right, Google, bing, bing, bang, got it. ChatGPT, boom, 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 got it. Now it's important to authenticate and verify. Yep, this is true.
Yeah.
That's why. What is this?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it means.
Site we always go to on PBDs. It's Snopes.
The fact checkers.
Fact checkers.
I use that word very.
That whole thing. But with the advent of AI and fake news, and we've seen like you saw the picture of Taylor Swift and Trump. They're making out. It's a thing these days, right?
These things are
so fake. What do you trust?
So real. All of it looks so real. Have you played with the voice AI yet? That's
it's so scary. They just need like a couple of words, and they're able to put together a complete like replica of your voice.
So next topic, we talk.
All right, so that'll be it, folks, for this video. I know it's gonna be long. It's gonna be at least an hour and a half. So, really, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you guys okay, there we go. So, but I hope you guys really enjoyed today's stream. This is live, but it's also going to be uploaded after. So if you haven't already, leave a like and leave a comment on the video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing this. This will be a part 1. But there will be a part 2 to this as well. I'm going to do this later today after I get done with Bible study. So I hope you guys enjoyed. But also, I hope you guys don't forget to share this across all platforms as well. It would really, really help the channel as well. So I hope you guys enjoy. And also, I know, again, I know it has cursing in it and it's not family friendly, but I'm going to try to do more content that is more family friendly, I promise. So I hope you guys enjoy today's stream and enjoy today's video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless you guys.